Brightest blessings, everyone. Pagan Steve, Pagan Steve, Pagan Steve, you do not know what you have done. Boy, you have opened Pandora's box. Okay, everyone, you know these challenges go around and around and around. Well, I was tagged to do what pisses me off. Sorry, people, I'm a bitch, and a proud bitch. There's nothing wrong with being a bitch. But I got a lot of things and a lot of people that piss me off. Let's start, shall we? I don't like it when people don't take responsibility. It pisses me off. And I don't mean, I understand that not everything is your fault, and shit happens that you just have no control over. Sometimes you have to figure out what to make when life gives you lemons, and you don't have enough sugar to make lemonade. It tests us. It shows what we're made of. But the thing is that there are people out there, and I know you know them. They go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about how hardly anything, if anything, is their fault. She did it, he did it, they did it, da 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 da, but what about, but what about, but what about? You know, when you're pointing the finger at somebody, you got 3 more fingers pointing right back at yourself. So, yeah. Another thing that pisses me off that goes along them same lines are people who feel that they've had a bad childhood, that mommy and daddy didn't hug them enough and didn't give them enough of whatever in the fuck they feel they need. And so therefore they feel and act like the world owes them everything. And they owe the world and humanity jack shit. That pisses me off. I got news for you people. Nobody grew up in the Cleaver household. Nobody grew up in the world of Father Knows Best. And those that did, I'm sure there are some, those that did are a very rare breed. Shit happens to everyone. You don't see me going out and victimizing people just because I had a bad childhood and Daddy couldn't tell me he loved me, or Daddy told me he loved me just a little too much. If you know what I mean. Another thing I cannot stand is whining. Whining pisses me off. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It just grinds my gears. And this happens not only with just people. This happens with animals too. Everybody knows that I have 4 cats, and the black one that I have is Mystic, and he was actually in here earlier. He's actually very emotionally needy, more needy than any cat that I've ever seen, which is fine. He's more like a dog in that fashion, but he gets on his little boy period and starts attacking everything in front of him. Doesn't want anyone around him, and so when the other animals decide that they don't want to deal with his shit, they leave him alone. They play with each other, they play around the house, and when he walks in the room, they leave. So when he decides that he's off his little man period, and he wants love and attention and wants to play with his brothers and sisters, then he walks around the house howling. And it's kind of the closest thing to a howl that a cat can do. It's more like a guttural meow that just bellows throughout the entire house. And I'm sorry, it just grinds my gears. Ugh. So sometimes I have to yell and tell him to knock it off, and after about an hour of me doing so, then he will. Let's see what else. What else pisses me off? People that victimize other people to boost their own self-esteem. This goes for people that abuse animals. This goes for people that are abusing their spouse, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. And how this happens is Well, they abuse animals. When they abuse animals, they usually don't abuse more wild animals that will actually kick your ass. Um, they'll go for the more domesticated animals, and what they'll do is they'll find the most trusting ones they can, and when they get a hold of them, then they abuse them. Um, they usually put them in a situation where they cannot get away, and unless they won't realize that they're in trouble until it's too late. Um, kind of same thing. I kind of see domestic abusers as the same way. They'll specifically look for those people who are very shy, very timid, who don't feel like they deserve any better, either because of their personality, because they look fat, because their general self-esteem is shot in the toilet. Doesn't matter. They'll specifically look for. What are you doing? My youngest kitten is getting into trouble again, living up to his namesake, Loki. Anyway, what they'll do is, hold on for a second. He's eating my cord. Sorry, I didn't want to lose transmission because he was eating the cord. Anyway, they'll physically go for someone like me because they assume that my self-esteem is down in the dumps because I'm fat, whatever. But once they usually get to know me, they fly away from me as quickly as possible. Not because I'm fat or ugly like any other troll would say, because I know what I want and I know what I deserve, and damn it, I demand it. And that alone will have them running away in fear. I could look like Cindy Crawford. I could look like Tyra Banks. And it doesn't matter, because that attitude alone will drive them away like a demon in holy water, And that's what drives them away. Why? Because they feel inferior themselves. And they, for some reason, don't go for help. And that's the only way they feel they can bring themselves up. Which really pisses me off. Another thing that pisses me off is when people are just stupid. Stupidity should be painful. I'm not saying that you have to be a Rhodes Scholar, that you have to be a book scholar. I'm not saying that you have to, go through any schooling. Just, there are people who are doctors, okay, who have their PhDs. And I'm talking to them too. Because stupidity is, to me, is someone not using just their basic common sense. Yeah. And that pisses me off to no end. And because of that, other people have to suffer. All people have to do is stop and think. People just sit there and act like, well, if I have my blindfold on, I can go wandering down a major highway, and I'm not going to get hit. And they're going to have total faith that they're not going to get hit because people are going to swerve around them not to kill them. These people piss me off so much. If I see more than a few, I will aim for them. So, yeah, that's just an inkling of what pisses me off. And we'll leave it at that. Blessed be.